There's a wonderful quote by American children's rights activist Marian Wright Edelman, which proclaims, "You cannot be what you cannot see." And I would add to that, unless you are exceptional. This is the case with Robert Smith, who not many people had heard of until he made global news last week for writing off the student loans of the whole class of 2019 at Morehouse College in the US. Smith's gift was symbolic for so many reasons. Here is a man who defied all the odds to become America's richest black person, who decided to go back to his community and help the next generation to do the same. Morehouse College class of 2019 should become a case study of what low-income young people can achieve when they are not saddled with crippling amounts of student debt. Social mobility has stalled, and I believe one way to jumpstart it is for the government, like Smith, to wipe off the tuition fees of our poorest kids. This will go a long way to help level the playing field.
So, June, I fundamentally disagree with... No, joking. Of course I agree with this. It's an amazing story. Yeah. And I just want to say, actually, on the fees thing, I just want to look at some of what could have been done with the money that the students... they're riddled with this debt. Yeah. And instead of paying the debt off, if the parents had the opportunity to invest, say, £50,000 in the same period that it takes them to pay off that debt or expire, which is 30 years, what they end up with is something like 200 and something thousand pounds of the return on that investment and the student debt paid off. Now, what that tells us is the following. If you have money, you can make money. Yeah. And that's what this man has done for these students. What he's done is he's given them a clean slate. So they're starting life with no debt so that any money they earn, they can put back productively into their own families and bettering their own lives. And the feeling of relief when that's done for you... let's see, in fact, one student and the sheer relief on his face.
Before you do that, can I just bring in Robert Smith himself? Let's see what he actually said.
On behalf of the 8 generations of my family who have been in this country, we're going to put a little fuel in your bus. And my family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
I mean, look, the sheer joy.
It took them a long time to realise that.
Well, because they probably thought he was pranking them. Just imagine
no one's
having
ever done that for them.
You can not, and it's the thing about not even believing that would have been possible, and therefore not being able to see what was beyond that. Now, students, of course, unfortunately today are in that situation. Thankfully, of course, they don't have to pay it back if they can't afford to. But as I say, the equivalent that money could be put to use for by parents. Another example, £50,000 could be also a deposit on a home for the child instead.
Particularly now,
So before we move to somebody else, let's see what Amari Shaw had to say, who's a Morehouse graduate, class of 2019.
My brothers and I are set to go into the real world and accomplish everything that we're supposed to accomplish, touch everyone who we're supposed to touch, reach everyone who we're supposed to reach after graduation without anything on our shoulders, without anything on our family shoulders. It's amazing.
Carole.
That is an incredible thing, isn't it? You're going to have no issue with me about that. However, what you do have an issue with me with is the government writing off student tuition fees.
For the poorest kids.
Can I...
They already do anyway.
Let me just... OK, I just want to... What I want to say is that I suppose I'm always wondering who's going to pay for all of this. And in my head, I'm wondering why someone on a low pay or a middle grade of income should have to pay the fees of a university student who's going to do much better than them in life. When a plumber or an electrician needs to take a course that's going to better them, they have to pay for that themselves. So why should kids who go to university have everything paid for? The other thing you mentioned was the university paying the thing off. We know that the Institute of Fiscal Studies says that only two-thirds of kids ever will do that. But if you take a wage, you don't start paying back until you earn 21 grand a year. So say you're on a wage of 26 grand a year and you pay 9% on everything you earn earn over 21. That's £37.50 a week. It's not crippling to get a university education. It's not a God-given right.
Just a couple points, and then I'll bring you both in. The reason why I think we have to do this for our poorest kids is often they are the first person in their family to go to university. And so, therefore, the way that they are able to change the trajectory of their family's life is absolutely is exponential. And, therefore, we should not make those kids be saddled with debt that then prevents them being able to help their family.
But it's a debt that's not going to cripple them.
Let me finish. That's the first point. And then the second piece, which I think is really important in terms of what this means, is just look at that kid in terms of the confidence that that's given that child in terms of the investment that's been made into the child. Also, we know that 60% of the jobs of the future...
What about plumbers and electricians, though, June?
60% of the jobs of the future haven't even been created yet. But what we do know is the majority of those jobs are going to come from the tech sector. So we need to educate our young people to rates at which we've never needed to educate them before.
And who's going to pay for it?
So therefore, we need to invest in them.
Who's going to pay for it?
And...
Let me defer.
Red,
OK, well, we'll go to Rachel the Red in a moment here. Just a voice of common sense from me.
Actually, the red view is the common sense.
Oh, right, of course.
We've been informed of this development.
I'll be the judge of that. Right, where this has gone wrong is too many children go to university. Too many young people. And instead of it being something that you need to possibly be a doctor, an engineer, whatever, now it's almost you go to school, you go to secondary school, you go to university, and that is wrong. That is it should be. Let me just finish because it should be more selective. And many children waste their time and waste their money or their parents' money doing courses that mean nothing. I think the whole university system needs a really, really thorough review. However, before I yield, I find it faintly sickening that a group of men and women in power now who benefited from free university education take it upon themselves to make, in your case, a really decent, poor kid striving to become a doctor.
Isn't that called privilege, Nick? Isn't that called privilege?
Look, just because you're right, it doesn't make you a better person. Rachel.
And also, can I just say quickly, then I'll bring you in, Rachel, to your point, don't you think the issue isn't about too many kids going to university? The issue is they're studying subjects that we're not going to need.
Can I just point out that just because more people are going to university, it doesn't mean the system is fairer. So volume does not equal equality, literally. From 2012, English tuition fees suddenly tripled, and it became the highest in the world. Personally, I think we should scrap tuition fees for everyone.
Who's going to pay for it?
Well, I'll tell you who's going to pay for it, actually, because if we raise corporation tax from 19% up to 26%, which is still lower than the level it was in 2010.
I was with you until you said that.
Which is still lower than the level it was in 2010 when the government cut it.
Are you wearing a boiler suit?
If we reduced it to that amount, I don't know why you're so aghast at this figure when I'm telling you that only 8 years ago it was higher. It was 28% in 2010.
It was better.
So did you not like it then?
But don't you think
Do you know what's happened to education in Scotland because it's free? Do you know what's happened? You must know what's happened to education. It's free. You know, free education can decrease equality, and let me explain that. Because in Scotland, it's free. It's no tuition fees in Scotland, and yet they have to take in massive amounts of English students and students from the EU because they pay. And the last figures that were produced, 2010-11, said that in Scotland, the government only gave £10.4 million to poorer students. This country gave a third of £1 billion to poorer students. So we kind of are doing our bit.
Decent point from Carole there.
Yeah.
Oh, like I make them so rarely.
Yeah. You got there eventually.
She got there in the end. Well done, Carole.
It's taken about 2 years.
Anyway, that brings this debate to a close. So anyone will tell you, darling, that the world of showbiz isn't always glitz and glamour. Writing scripts, doing rehearsals, fitting in breakfast, the all-important decisions on hair and makeup. We do a lot of graft here, even on the pledge before we start filming. But you can just call us the star students of Sky News. But one person giving us a run for our money in the Goody Two-Shoes stakes is comedian Frank Skinner. The funny man found a way of getting himself into the channel's good books when he appeared on Sunrise with Sarah Jane Mee earlier this week. Take a look at this.
Frank Skinner is with us in the studio this morning. Hello, Frank.
Hello.
I've just got to start by saying, Sky News has changed your life, hasn't it? We're celebrating a plastic victory today, and Frank is part of that.
Now, I was just saying off camera that watching Sky News made me feel guilty about the fact that I have 12 bottles of water delivered every week. So now I've stopped that delivery, and I use 2 bottles that I just refill out the tap. So we've probably closed down some mineral water companies, but we've saved some wildlife. No, it really did make me think about it. So, you know, Sky News saves lives or whatever.
Frank Skinner there, definitely showing us how you make your future safer with a broadcaster. So he gets our straight talker of the week, but I'm actually going to call him the straight groveler of the week.
Can I just say that Sky News has been transformative for me? So transformative.
Or whatever.
I'm so grateful.
Or whatever.
Or whatever. Is that the bit that makes it work?
Anyway, that's enough from us. Rachel, congratulations on your first show.
That was it for you.
Wonderful having you. So that's it for this week of The Pledge. But if you want to join in the debate, all you need to do is search us on Facebook and Twitter. And The Pledge is now also available to download as a podcast from iTunes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.